All right, it's Tony Latour. We're here at the City of Champions. We're here with Coach David Peavy. Coach Peavy, you guys are the defending 6A state champions. We wanted to definitely thank you for your time. And Coach, first I want to get into it because you've been here for 3 years now.
Right.
And here for 3 years, everybody knows about the success that you've had, but a lot of people here in the area don't know about what happened before these 3 years. So I wanted to take you back. Can you tell me the first thing, first of all, when is the first time that you realized that, hey, you know what, I want to be a coach?
It's a great story, man. Well, first of all, thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem.
Started back when I was about 11 years old. I didn't even like basketball at the time. I really didn't. Never thought I would even play basketball. Thought I was going to be a football star. Right. But my dad, who was in the Air Force, became a basketball coach in the Air Force.
Wow.
And I went to go stay with him for the summer at Dyess Air Force Base in Abilene, and had no idea he was a basketball coach. And then we started going to his games, and I started getting in his locker room, and I just fell in love with being a basketball coach. I fell in love with being a basketball coach before I even fell in love with basketball.
Wow.
So I knew at the age of 11 I wanted to be a coach and a basketball coach.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's walk me through your first job, the head coaching job. That was in Gonzales, right? How was that experience?
It was.
That's like 70 miles, east of San Antonio?
East, yeah. It's off of I-10 between San Antonio and Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I can just tell you how to get there, man. You hit the Buc-ee's. Hit the Buc-ee's on I-10 and take a right, and in about 10 minutes you run into Gonzales. It was great. It was great. I had two really good players. Really good players. Darrell Door ended up playing for Bobby Knight at Texas Tech.
Right.
And started for 3.5 years. And I had a kid named Danny Armlin, who was a 6'3" point guard that could jump out the gym. He could really play. And then I had a bunch of kids that they loved it. You know, they loved representing their town. You know, so it was a small town that got behind their athletics, and it was a great experience.
If you don't mind, Coach, I'll take a step back. You mentioned the name. The first name of one of the players you mentioned was Darrell? Darrell Door. Darrell Door. Yep. You know what? The funny thing is, I actually spoke with Darrell yesterday.
Okay.
And I said, Darrell, tell me something about Coach. If you could give one word, give me something that you give me about Coach. He said, Coach is the most loyal dude I know. He said, he's the most loyal dude I know. And then I was like, okay, well, that's all cute and fuzzy, but Darrell, give me some dirt on Coach. Tell me something, that Coach did to tick you off. He's like, well, Coach, and he said a couple of words, some beep, beep, beep. But he's like, Coach kicked me out of practice.
Yeah.
And he said that blew my mind because, most coaches in that sense would have been afraid to kick me out of class because we're in a small town population of about, 7,000 people?
I don't even know if it was that many.
Right.
We had about 700 in the school at that time. But I don't know if we had 700, but it was a small town, and he was by far the best player. But he was feeling himself.
Yeah.
He was feeling himself one day, and he wasn't giving the effort that I needed him to give. And so you
remember the day?
Oh, I remember that day. and when I kicked him out and called him all types of names and said some things that I had to go pray about later. I was just very hopeful he would show back up the next day.
Wow.
But at the same time, I knew that I couldn't allow him not to give everything that he was, because one thing Darrell needed to get out of Gonzales.
Yeah.
And he needed to be coached.
Yeah.
He needed to be held accountable. And I was the one to do it.
Wow, that's amazing. Because he said, I believe you came his senior year.
Did. And
he said he didn't really have any offers at the time.
No, at the time he had St. Mary's University in San Antonio, which is a Division II, and South Alabama started talking to him.
Yeah.
And when I saw the kid play, I'm like, wait a minute, he's 6'9", 6'10", and can really shoot, can really pass, could handle the ball. Put it this way. When I would take Danny Armlin out of the game, my 6'3" point guard, I would move Darrell to the point.
Wow.
So I would take him out of the paint, put him at the point because he was such a good facilitator and a great decision maker. He could really play.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe nobody else was recruiting him. So I called Chris Beard at the time,
Yeah.
who's now the head coach at Texas Tech. He was the assistant, who I've been friends with since I was at Incarnate Word. And I said, hey man, I got a kid out here y'all might want to look at. And he said his name right away. He said, Darrell Door. I said, yeah. I said, we don't really like him.
Wow.
I said, tell me what you don't like, just so I have an idea. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. He said, well, you know, when we see him, he just sits underneath the paint on both ends. I said, no, y'all need to come check this kid out. He can really play. So they came in, saw him, and they offered him on the spot. And then the rest was history as far as that kid goes.
Wow. Yeah, he was telling me, he's like, one thing you came in is, you came in and you asked him, you said, hey, what's your dream school? Where you want to go to school? And he was naming, you know, all these smaller, you know, St. Mary. And he was like, get the F out of here.
Yeah.
No, you need to stop thinking like that. So I think that's a huge thing. This goes back to, you know, your coaching ability and the mindset, changing these mindsets of these players. So kudos to that. You also touched on another thing I wanted to kind of take a pause at, because 2005, Hurricane Katrina comes.
Right.
You know, you're coaching down in the Houston area, and DJ Augustin from New Orleans, correct?
Right.
Comes, you know, this family had to move, obviously. He comes to your door. How were you able to coach? Because in Louisiana, I'm from Louisiana.
Okay.
He was the man. Like everybody, he was Mr. Louisiana. I think they won the state championship 2 years in a row. Three years in a row. And he was the man.
Right.
So how was it, you know, having him just like in that hurricane situation, you know, kind of similar situation we're in now with the COVID? It's just a different atmosphere that we weren't used to. How was kind of coaching him and managing him through his senior year?
It was different. Okay. First of all, DJ was probably the easiest player to coach.
Wow.
Super coachable, hardworking, unbelievable kid, came from an unbelievable family. So those issues weren't there. The issue was his heartbreak.
Yeah.
You know, and kids didn't understand that. It wasn't like, hey, you got a kid coming from New Orleans that decided to transfer, and he and his family wanted to be there. It was like, no, he had to leave. He lost everything where he was. He lost all his friends. Yeah. They still didn't know where family members were. His girlfriend that he had been with since I think 6th or 7th grade, she got relocated to Dallas. So it was his best friend and girlfriend who he was with every single day. So he was heartbroken. Yeah. And you know, our kids didn't understand that, you know, and when he wasn't around one time, I tried to give them just a little analogy. I said, hey, you leave here today and you go home, and when you get home, you see your house is burned to the ground. How do you feel? And they were all like, wow. I said, no, now make it worse. You get home and your whole neighborhood is burned down to the ground. So it's not just, you know, something happened to them, something happened to his whole life.
Right.
So we dealt with that. He was unbelievable player, unbelievable kid, but he was still dealing with heartbreak. And we never really even got to see how good he was until the playoffs. And then it just all kicked in, and we knew we were seeing him a great player throughout the year.
Right.
When we hit the playoffs, it was like, oh my goodness, this dude is really, really special.
Right.
So I mean, it was kind of unbelievable player to coach, but we had some other issues to deal with.
Right. Had to get the heart right. Cause I mean, I could only imagine. That's tough.
It was really tough.
It's tough. Moving forward, you got a lot of your coaching history, which is awesome. Let's talk about one of the reasons I started this segment is because a quote I heard you say. I believe you're on an All Access, and they asked you. They was like, "Hey man, Dallas basketball is booming right now. What is it?" And I was like, "Okay." When they asked it, I was like, "Okay, this is what Coach's gonna say. He's gonna say, oh, it's in the water, or you know, Texas has great athletes." But you said something that just really blew my mind, and I didn't think about it. You said, "Well, there's a lot of great coaching here in Texas, in Dallas, and the players are a lot more receptive here in Dallas."
Yeah.
So that kind of just blew my mind. Can you kind of expound on that? Because I was like, "Nah, Coach, it got to be in the water, Coach."
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of good things.
Right.
You know, Texas has a lot of really good players, lots of good talent, a lot of great athletes, but we've known that. You know, we've known that for years and years and years because of the football. We knew that there was a lot of athletic kids and bigger and stronger kids in Texas, but now when the focus became about basketball, you know, these kids really fell in love with it, and it's taken off. But yeah, the coaching is great.
Yeah.
And it's all over the state. There's a lot of really good coaches all over the state. I've coached in San Antonio, I've coached in Austin, I've coached in Houston, and this is my first stop in Dallas. And what I can say, I mean, there's a lot of really good athletes in Houston, but the really good athletes in Houston are different a little bit than Dallas. The kids in Dallas take the coaching a lot better. They expect it. They embrace the coaching. You know, there's a lot less resistance from coaching a kid hard in Dallas. The parents handle it better. They allow you to coach their kids harder in Dallas. You know, it's just, but you know, I don't want to knock anybody else. I just know right now the culture in Dallas is different. The basketball community is different. And it's a great place to be right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just looking at it last year. I believe we had 5 guys from the city, you know, go to the league.
Right.
And that's ridiculous.
I don't think that's going to slow down.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at the pipeline. I mean, you know, looking at this year, you got, you know, the Cades, and you have several other players that it's going to be
a lot.
It's going to be scary, man.
Yeah. You know what I would really like to see is more kids around here stay closer to home. You know, we've had a lot of kids from really good players in Texas go elsewhere, and I'm all for you do what's best for you.
Right.
You know, do what's best for you and where you feel comfortable, where you feel loved. But Texas basketball, college basketball is really good, and it could be better if we can keep more of our kids, our better players, more local. I think we can really show the world how good Texas basketball is.
Yeah, man. And just why do you think it is a lot of kids end up going other places? Do you think it's
just tradition, maybe? You know, Texas hasn't been good, you know, until recently. It's been a football state.
Right.
You know, it's just what it's known for. It's known for its football, but there's a lot of really good players that if they stayed around here like the football players have stayed, you know, Texas has made a lot of places really good.
Yeah.
You know, with our athletes. You know, Oklahoma. I mean, just all over the country. Our athletes go all over the country.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go make everybody else better. You know, if they stayed closer to home, you know, I think our athletics in college are good now. It would just become great.
Absolutely. Quick question, kind of pivoting, but we were talking about exposure. What is your take on grassroots basketball, and is it overexposure almost, or?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I love it. You know, I'm kind of rare. As far as I'm a high school basketball coach that embraces AAU.
Right.
You know, I think there is a huge divide between the high school basketball coaches and the AAU coaches. I'm about my kids.
Right.
You know, and I'm about supporting them wherever they are and whenever they're on the court. And I know that there is 2 different jobs. The AAU coach's job is a lot different than my job. My job is a lot different than their job. Neither one of them is right or wrong. It's different. And I just kind of accept that. They play too many games.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy. You know, I think there's way too much wear and tear on these kids. You know, you see a lot more injuries now. And I think the amount of games they play kind of desensitizes them to winning and losing. I don't think they value winning as much as we did when we were growing up, because we didn't get to play that much, and every game meant more.
Yeah.
They play so many games. They lose this game, oh, they're going to play another one here in a couple hours.
Right.
And they play so many games that, you know, that's one thing when we get them back. It's about we don't lose. We you know, and so I think the exposure and the amount of games they play, that kind of hurts them, you know, in that aspect.
Pivoting, Coach, I know a lot of people see the success. You know, they see all the banners here, but they don't see what it costs to get there, right? So the cost of coaching, I guess the way I would label this question. What are some of the sacrifices that people don't see that you as a coach, you know, have to endure? or have endured?
I mean, time with your family.
Oh.
You know, it's a lot of time away from your family, and you're raising other people's kids. You know, fortunately, I was able to coach 2 of my sons. Okay, but I didn't coach my daughter. You know, so it was a lot of time not being spent with our families.
Right.
We're gone a lot, and then when we are home, we're not really. We spend a lot of time watching film and preparing for the next game. Vacations.
All AAU?
It's all AAU. Now, I've seen the country.
Yeah.
But I haven't been anywhere where it wasn't about basketball.
Yeah.
In a long time. I did take a vacation 2 summers ago, pre-COVID, and that was my first vacation that didn't deal with basketball in my life, and I'm 48. Ooh. Yeah, so that's just the sacrifices, but you know, to me it's worth it. You know, it's worth it. I wish, you know, I do have regrets. I wish I could go back and do more with raising my kids, other than basketball. But you know, it's not something we can do.
Well, you bringing up, you know, your kids, and how was it changing hats from coach to dad? Is that, I mean, because I've seen it too. I've seen 2 extremes. I've seen a guy coach their kid, and you know, somebody else turned the ball over. They're like, "Hey man, come on, don't turn it over." But their kid turn it over. They flipping chairs over, and it's. I mean, how was that?
It was really hard.
Yeah,
really hard. I tell people this all the time. It was the hardest thing I've ever done as a coach, was to coach my sons. Okay. But it was the most rewarding. It was the most rewarding thing I've ever done, but it was really, really hard. And this is how I like to say it. You know, when you go to a game as a parent, you see every single thing your child does.
Yeah.
No matter what's going on, you're gonna see everything your child does.
Everything.
Well, that doesn't change as a coach. You know, if my son's not, you know, before I coached my sons, I was pretty good at seeing the 10 guys on the court and seeing what went on, but of course I couldn't see everything.
Right.
You throw my son out there, I see every single thing he does.
Right.
Everything. And I felt like I still coached everybody, but he couldn't get away with anything. And I had a really good assistant my first year coaching, DJ, my older son, who is now one of my assistants here. He's my top assistant here at Duncanville. Kevin Woods. Shout out to Coach Woods. Woods had to bring me in the office when we were at Decaney in Houston and tell me, hey man, you need to get off of DJ. Like, one, he's really good. Like, leave him alone and let him play. And 2, you got everybody around here thinking your son is sorry. Because every time he does anything, all they hear about is what he's doing wrong.
Right.
So it was tough. It was tough. Then the next year, Micah came as a freshman. It was DJ's junior year, Micah's freshman year, and DJ helped. He helped, but Micah was different. You know, he was completely different than DJ, and we had different issues. And then once DJ graduated, he helped me more with Micah by telling me that he made me realize I hadn't been a dad. All I had been was a basketball coach.
Wow.
Like, everything we ever did was about basketball. And I couldn't separate. I was expecting my kids to separate coach to dad, but there was never any separation. They couldn't get good at it because they had no experience with it.
Right.
So DJ was the one to say, he told me, Dad, you gotta start doing things outside of basketball with Micah. So then we started going to the movies once a week, or we went to eat, and had nothing to do with basketball. That helped me coach him a lot better, because then he was able to separate dad from coach. Yeah. But it was tough. It was really tough.
I bet. You know what? I actually spoke with DJ yesterday.
Okay.
And I was like, DJ, how was it? You know, having your dad as the basketball coach. He said, you know what? His most memorable time growing up was 5 a.m. Every morning.
Yep.
When you, him, Mike, and Joey would go work out.
Yeah.
He's like, that's one of the things I miss the most, man. I miss waking up 5 o'clock and being with my dad.
It was so cool, you know. And people, I want to put this out there right now. That wasn't me.
Right.
That wasn't me. I was a high school coach. We spent a lot of time together in the summers, working in the gym. And DJ was a gym rat from the time he started. He was not a normal kid. You know, I would bring them to work with me on the weekends and give them my keys, and DJ would go get balls out, cones out, and get to working drills and all types of stuff. Micah would go in my PE closet and grab all the hula hoops and bowling pins, and Micah would be on one side of the gym bowling. DJ was always putting it in. From the time they were in elementary school. So when DJ started getting older, and we were living in San Antonio, and I was driving to Austin to coach at Aikens.
Right.
So I wasn't getting to spend. I was getting home late. wasn't getting to see him. wasn't getting to work with him. So he started. He did some research, asked if we could get a membership at the YMCA. They opened at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would take them. Really, most of the time it was DJ and Joey.
Yeah.
Micah would sleep most of the time. I would take them in there and work them out and drop them off at school. Then I would drive to Austin.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was his most. He said, man, that's one of the things he misses. He says he also misses just competing with my dad. He's like, that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Us competing together.
Yeah.
And people in the Metroplex don't know how good DJ was.
He was really good, man. He was really good.
Or is. If DJ still
He's
ball,
still really good.
Right.
Still really good. But a lot of people don't know he got diagnosed with an enlarged heart after his freshman season. So he was one of the best point guards in the state, one of the best point guards in the country at the time, and got shut down for 6 months and completely shut down where he couldn't do anything. So he basically had to detrain his heart to figure out what it was, and we didn't know if he would ever get to play again.
Right.
So after those 6 months, he got the clear. He was cleared to play, but that set him back.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about a kid who worked out religiously, constantly, having to sit for 6 months, and then coming back. It took almost a year just to get back where he was before being diagnosed, and then. But he still ended up being he's a Division I player.
Right.
He's a Division I player, and now he's dealing with that.
Wow. Coach Peavy, quick story. You brought up Darrell Door again. And I said, Darrell, if you had to ask Coach Peavy a question, what would your question be to Coach Peavy?
Uh-oh.
Coach Peavy, he said, ask Coach Peavy. I'm trying to do my Darrell voice. Tell Coach Peavy how he gets so big. Why he gets so big? Now, I took back, I'm looking at you, Coach Peavy. I've known you for the last couple of years. And, you just look naturally kind of big-boned. Like Coach Peavy always been strong.
Yeah.
I was like, Coach Peavy was probably playing. He was probably a power forward, a little Barkley out there.
Not at all.
But, yeah, when Darrell told me, he's like, nah, man, he used to play with us.
Yeah.
Like, he was a guard, for real. So I was like, for real? Because Coach.
When I first went to college, my freshman year in college, I was like 155. And that was at the end of the year. I think when I got there, I might have been in the 140s. But by my senior year, now we got to Incarnate Word. I played at UTSA my freshman year.
Right.
Then I went to a junior college in California. Then I finished up at Incarnate Word. When I got to Incarnate Word, we lifted a lot. So we got a lot stronger, a lot bigger. But my playing weight my senior year was 172. So I'm about 220 now. So I've gained a lot of weight since then. But when I finished playing, I really enjoyed lifting weights and working out, and then I started working at a gym.
Yeah.
Became a trainer, a strength conditioning trainer.
Okay.
So I started lifting a lot.
Yeah. We see,
Yeah,
Coach.
But when I coached Darrell, he's right. I was still playing.
Yeah.
And I was still good enough that I was better than most of my players. And I could. But I started getting real big when I started getting bigger players, and I'm like, well, pretty soon,
I need to,
one of these dudes might be able to beat me up. So that's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. When the way I talk to them and the way I coach them, I gotta be able to.
Ready.
Yeah, I gotta be ready.
Yeah.
So they know.
That's awesome. So again, Coach, I'm a numbers guy. I just want to get your perspective on how you have these conversations with your kids. So right now, 6th grade and under, playing organized basketball, there's over tens of millions of kids,
Right.
all with one dream,
Yeah.
right? Of those tens of millions of kids, about 500,000 end up playing high school basketball.
Right.
Of those 500,000 that play high school basketball, only 4,000 go on to play college basketball. Of the 4,000 that go on to play college basketball, about 35 end up making it to the NBA. Of that 35 that make it to the NBA, probably you're fighting about for 7 spots for guys who end up starting or have a long career. Average NBA career is about 4 years. So what is your take? Do you have these conversations with your kids on, it's the 1%, oh man, it's only 1%, you got to go extra hard? Or are you more like, you know what, why don't you be that 1%? Because you have a one and done,
Right.
Jameis from last year, and
Right.
also a couple other kids that you had going to the league. So what are you telling them? Because obviously it's working.
We talk about I don't put percentages on it.
Mhm.
We talk about how hard it is. I've got some really good players.
No.
And I've got players that are good enough to have conversations about being that 1%.
Right.
So go ahead and do, if that's your goal, then what are you doing to achieve your goals?
Right.
And my I use that against them, every day when they're not going as hard as they should,
Right.
when they're not putting in the extra work, then I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about you wanting to be a pro if you're not doing pro things. So we talk a lot about what it means to be a pro. I coach to the highest level. So if I feel like I've got a pro in the gym, then all of you gonna get trained like a pro.
Wow.
I cannot hold this kid back trying to water it down because you're not a pro. So you got to train like a pro, and whatever comes of it, comes of it.
Right.
I mean, it's only going to help you. I believe that if you are good enough to play here at Duncanville, you are probably a college basketball player for free. Now I've got one on the team this year that he's not. I've got 4 seniors. 3 of them have signed Division I scholarships.
Right.
The other one, we have different conversations with him. He's great kid, great for the program. He deserves to be on the team. Now, he doesn't get to play a whole lot. And he knows that. He's good with it. He's one of the best teammates I've ever coached.
Wow.
I mean, he's the first call a timeout. He's the first one on the court to greet his teammates. And he works just as hard as they do. My conversations with him, he wants to be a welder. Then we're going to be the best welder that's ever been. And we talk about owning your own company, being a CEO,
Right.
being a pro.
Right.
So we're about habits necessary to be successful. And I believe that the things we're doing, the habits that we're creating here for basketball will carry them through whatever they want to do. And most of them will have an opportunity to carry these habits with them beyond high school and keep playing basketball at another level. And for some, and the percentages that I'm going to coach compared to most coaches are going to be a little bit higher than 1% of my guys are going to go play professional basketball.
Absolutely.
Jamias is one of them. Hopefully Micah here pretty soon. Then I've got 3 seniors going Division I. They all want to be pros. So, these are conversations I'm going to continue to have with them after they leave here about what they're doing to achieve their goals. And then I've got some younger kids that, it looks like we're going to be able to keep having these conversations.
Absolutely. You got some dogs. You
Yeah.
got some dogs coming up. And that kind of, when I say we got some dogs, man, it goes back to what's on your shirt. And I know it's more than just a slogan, and you hear it thrown around all the time. Oh, man, we rebuild the culture. Culture this, culture that. What is it with really the culture that you have set here? Because, like I said, it's hard, and I watch a lot of tape. I obviously have my own video company. I watch a lot of tape on basketball, and it's hard to get 5 guys to buy, or the whole team to buy into playing defense.
Yeah.
But your guys play defense like 94 feet. They're down here.
Right.
How is it in the culture? What do you do? How do you get them to buy into that?
It's not easy, but at the same time, it's not hard.
Right.
It's just what we do. And like I tell people, it's not something we just put on a t-shirt.
Right.
It is real. Our culture is real, and it's always evolving. You know, it's not something, okay, we do this. No, it's we do this, and then when this is working, then we got to add to it. If this is not working, we need to fix it.
Right.
It's constant, you know, things that we demand. We have some non-negotiables in our program. You know, you're going to go hard.
Right.
And the definition in the term we use is fly around. You're going to fly around, and flying around means you're going to go as hard as you can while being under control.
Right.
And then it's learning how to do that. One thing I really don't like is when I'm watching the basketball game on TV and you see a kid make a hustle play, and the commentator says that's something you can't teach. You can't teach hustle. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you really can. You can
Right.
teach somebody how to go hard. You can show them what it looks like. And when they don't do it, you can help them correct it. And you can keep on showing them what it looks like to fly around, what it looks like to hustle, what it looks like to go your hardest. Teaching kids that when it hurts, you still got a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of kids want to stop when it starts to hurt. So that's part of it. You know, part of our culture is you know, respect. You know, you're going to respect this game. You're going to respect your opponent. You're going to respect your teammates. You're going to respect the people in the community, people out. It's respect.
Right.
These kids really love each other. It's genuine. It's genuine. And, you know, do they always like each other? No. Okay. But for the most part, they even like each other. Mm-hmm. You know, they respect each other. They love each other. They play really hard for one another. They root for one another. Yeah, I mean, it's you know, I had a kid last game. We made our last subs, and it looked like that was going to be who we were going to have for the last 3 minutes of the game. Kid came and said, "Coach, I've played enough. Put Caden in the game. That's our fourth senior.
Wow.
Let him have these 3 minutes." Like and the kid probably the one that took himself out, he probably could have used those extra 3 minutes.
Right.
You know, but it's that respect and that love, like and that's part of our culture.
That's huge.
But a lot goes into our culture. You know, our administration who supports us, our community that supports us, our parents that allow us to coach these kids the way we do. It just, you know, it's a real thing around here.
That's great. One of the things that I see just from the outside looking in, rules without a relationship equals rebellion. So
Yeah.
Just to see how tough you are on your kids, but that relationship that you have with them, that's why they're, to me, that's one of the reasons why they're totally buying in for you.
These kids know we really love them.
Right.
You know, they know we love them. We, like I said, you know, all of my guys play in the summer. They all play in the summer. I don't do spring league.
Right.
You know, once we're done for the season, we leave them alone. Now we work with them every day in athletic period, and we give them opportunities. You know, they can come in the gym, they can come, but they go to their AAU teams. We leave them alone, but we go support them.
Right.
We follow them wherever. If they're anywhere within driving, we're going to go support our kids and cheer for our kids. Not coach them in the stands. We're going to cheer for them and love them up. We're really hard on them. We're really demanding. We have very high expectations. We hold them accountable, but they know that they can come to us for anything. They can come talk to us about anything. They can be honest with us. Let me back up to the culture part. That might be the most important thing we do in our program is we're truth tellers. As coaches, we tell the truth, and we allow the kids to tell us the truth.
Right.
And we also got to admit, like, sometimes the truth hurts. You know, coming from a coach to a kid, telling the kid he's not as good as he needs to be, or what he's, you know, or he's not as good as his grandmama thinks.
Right.
You know, that can be hurtful. But it goes the other way too. When the kid comes in and tells us about ourselves, we got to be okay with that. But we teach them how to do it.
Right.
How to be respectful about it. How to do it, you know, in the right way. Because what we teach them is, look at me, I'm the leader of this program. You're doing something that you really want to be doing. This is only going to last so long.
Right.
You're going to have a job someday. You're going to have to know how to do what your boss is asking you to do and communicate with your boss in a way. So we try to teach them the proper way of doing what they need to do to be successful.
Wow, that's amazing. And kind of, little birdie told me that Coach Woods had a birthday party not too long ago, about a week or two ago, and little birdie said that the whole team was there.
It was actually for his son.
Oh, it's for KJ. Okay.
It was for KJ. It was for KJ, and the entire, I think maybe two guys didn't show. Like, this is stuff we do. Like, and it's not mandatory, but our guys will have a birthday party and everybody will be there.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That to me tells everything anybody would need to know about your culture, as far as kids are showing up to one of your assistant coach's son's birthday party.
14-year-old birthday party. Yeah.
So
they had a good time. I mean, they bowled and did all that good stuff. But I mean, it was. But yeah, I mean, I guess that is rare, but we're kind of used to that.
Yeah, man. So just wrap it up here, Coach. What are 3 things that your players would need to do to get on the floor for you? What if you have 3 things that, look, you need to do X, Y, and Z?
Fly around.
Got
to fly around. You got to care. You got to care.
Break that down for me. You got to care.
You got to care about what you're doing. You got to care about making this shot. You got to care about getting this stop. You got to care about getting this rebound. And that's big. Yeah. That's big. You see, you gotta play this possession like this is the possession that's going to win or lose the game. And then after this possession, it could be. Then that next possession is the possession that could win or lose the game. And you got to play like that all the time. You got to play like, like I tell them, I coach like my job is on the line. And all you guys want to go play college basketball. Those coaches, their jobs are on the line. Absolutely. And that's the first thing they look for, are players who are gonna not get them fired.
Right.
That's the number one thing. Is this kid, if he comes to my team, is he gonna make sure I keep my job? Then I want it. So I tell them I treat my job the same way. So they gotta fly around, they gotta care, and they gotta be good people.
Right.
They gotta be good people. I talked to a parent. I met with a parent 2 days ago for lunch, and it's one thing we talked about. It's like, I get emails every single day. Lots of emails every day about kids wanting to come from Africa, they think this is a prep school. It's a public school.
Right.
And there's always talk about, this kid might be coming, this kid might be coming. And I said, fortunately, we're in a position right now where, I can't tell somebody they can't move. I can't. If they physically get up and they move and they walk through my doors, then they got a chance. But I'm not taking any bad kids. There's no room for a kid that's not a good person to be in my program. So those are the 3 main things. And I believe if they do those 3 things, if they fly around, if they care, and they're a good person, then I got a chance to do what I need to do with you, for you to achieve your goals and for us to achieve ours.
Wow, that's great. So, Coach, I want to thank you for your time. I did want to leave you with one thing that when I spoke with Coach Darrell, that really just stuck out to me, man. He said, you know what? He said, Tony, every time I speak to Coach Peavy, I speak to him pretty often, I feel like an 18-year-old kid. And I was just like, whoa. I was like, it hits different because it shows the father figure that you were.
Yeah.
The father figure that you've continued to be, and how you always stuck there by his side, and now he's coaching your son.
Right.
So
he's actually an assistant at Austin P, coaching DJ. We have that kind of relationship. We talk now probably at least once a week. Before DJ got there, at least once a month, just to check in with each other. Right. But we go way back. There was a lot going on his senior year in high school. A lot going on in his life that he needed me to be more than his basketball coach. And I took that responsibility, and it hasn't changed. I value that relationship, and to this day, he has never called me by my name. It's always coach. It's always coach. And I'm I'm good. I'm grateful for that relationship.
Yeah. Lastly, he said you're welcome.
I already know what he's going. I'm not
He
where I
said you're
am
welcome.
today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Without, you know what? And we laugh and joke, and he will admit he's not where he is today.
Whoa.
We definitely started each other's lives.
Yeah.
You know, coaching that kid was life changing, in both ways.
Right.
You know, me pushing him in the way I pushed him to get where he is, to get where he started, and then that jump started his life to what it is now. Same thing goes for, Darrell being that player, helping me win a whole lot of games early.
Yeah.
My first job helped me get Hightower. Getting Hightower, I'm not at Duncanville for sure if I didn't coach Darrell Door.
All right, well, Coach Peavy, thank you so much. Corona, I'll give you the Corona fist bump. My dude, man, I appreciate
sir.
you. I appreciate everything that you do for the community, everything you're doing for these kids. And we really just appreciate you taking this time out to chat with us, man. We appreciate it.
I enjoyed it.
All right, it's Tony with Create Space Media. We'll catch y'all on the next one.